What's going on, guys, and welcome to Who to Sign For. Now in this series I'm giving you my recommendations on what players to sign for a specific team in career mode. But before we go on, I will say that the signings you'll see aren't designed to be realistic, and that the player ratings and potentials of the players may vary depending on what database you're using and how they perform for you during the season. Obviously you don't have to follow all the tips. This is really just a set of guidelines to give you a hand if you're stuck for ideas and want some suggestions on what players you could sign for a certain club. This is mainly aimed at those who are out there who may be new to the game and just need a little bit of advice, or for those who are out there who want a few recommendations on what players to sign for a team that you may be using in career mode this year. So yes, in today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys, we are going to take a look at Inter Milan. That's right, Inter Milan of the Serie A in Italy, who of course last night had a thrilling Milan derby victory over their rivals Milan, to say the very least. They were 2-0 down at half-time and they scored 4 in the second half to complete the turnaround and claim a massive victory as they continue to go neck and neck with Juventus in the Serie A right now as they try and dethrone the old lady this season in Italy. And Inter Milan in the game start off with a very good budget, around £48 million, but as I always say, with wage budget alteration can reach around £60 million. They are a 5-star team, but their aims are very strong as well. Domestically, they've got to reach the Coppa Italia semi-final. That should be doable. They've done that in real life. They've got to finish in the top 4 in the Serie A. That also should be doable, but in the Champions League in Europe, they've got to reach the final. Reach the final of the Champions League, which, if you base off how they've done this season in Europe, you know is going to be a very difficult side. And again, it's a very decent team, there's no doubt about it. It's a very quality side. However, there are quite a few aging players in the squad. And as I run you through the squad hub in depth here, you'll see there's quite a lot of players that are in their mid to late 30s that need to be shifted on. Even a couple of players they've just signed, for example, such as Ashley Young from Manchester United. They've got Alexis Sanchez also on loan from Manchester United right now. But yeah, there's a lot of players that are in their 30s here at Inter Milan where you will need to start selling those players pretty quickly because they're going to start declining in their ratings very, very quickly, if not right from the get-go in the first season. But again, the squad is good. It's very decent. There's a lot of good players here. And you might notice too, there's a lot of players that are out on loan right now, such as Perisic at Bayern Munich, Nainggolan at Cagliari, and also Icardi at Paris Saint-Germain in France as well. They've got several players loaned in too: Sanchez, Baraghi, Victor Moses, Nicolo Barella, and Sensi too. And they've got 4 players that deals that come at the end of the year. That's Bernie and Pedelli, the goalkeepers, and Young as well. And I'd recommend letting all those players go. Don't give contracts to any of those players. Let them go come the end of the season. So if you take a look at my transfer list here, all the players on the list are 30 years old or older, because again, I would definitely recommend looking to sell those aging players right from the very first season and get some cash for them, as they are going to start declining in their rating straight away. And also I'd recommend recalling 6 players from their loan spells as well, including Perisic, Nainggolan, and also Mauro Icardi as well. Now, to recall these 6 players, it's going to cost you around £5.34 million. That's what it was in the game for me. For you, it might be a little bit different. It might be about 5.5 million, might be 5.1 million, but it'll be around £5 to £5.5 million regardless. And the reason why I'd recall these players is because whilst they're out on loan right now, they're not really doing anything for you, because Icardi, for example, is 86 rated and could go right into your first 11 to partner Romelu Lukaku with Martinez off the bench. Nainggolan, at 84 rated, could go right in your first 11. Perisic, 83 rate, could go right in your first 11, as can Politano on the right-hand side as well. So these players here have got the quality to come back in and step right into your first 11, if not on the bench, like in the case of Radu, if not then in the reserves, like in the case of Lazaro. But you could sell those players if you want to for a very decent transfer fee. As you'll see in a moment's time, we do sell one of those players. So I always recommend this when you are managing a club that have players that are out on loan right now that have resale value. Recall them, bring them back, because it will cost you a small fee to bring them back, but a very small fee. It's more like a drop in the ocean for clubs of Inter Milan's stature. But recall them, and for the players you don't want to use, you can put them on the transfer list straight away and sell them and get some cash for them, or you can use them in the first 11 like we plan to do with Mauro Icardi in this Inter Milan career mode. So definitely, without question, recall those 6 players. Again, it's going to cost you around £5 to £5.5 million, but right now, whilst they're out on loan, they're not doing anything for you. But here at Inter Milan, they are assets that you can sell or players players you can use in the first season. Totally up to you. Still, following the recalls and accepting a couple of bids there for Valero and Asamoah as well, 2 players on our transfer list right now, I did decide to try and make my first signing with Inter Milan for our first season. And when you take a look at the side, it is so good, really all over the pitch. But my number one recommendation for a new position for a player to sign with Inter Milan is the right-hand side of midfield, because they play 3 at the back, like a lot of teams do in modern football these days, 3 at the back or 5 at the back. And of course, when you play a 3 at the back or 5 at the back system, you want your wide midfielders to operate as wing-backs, secondary wing-backs as well. So you need players that can be good on the defensive end as well as the offensive end, and also have high stamina with high work rates as well. And my number one recommendation for a new right-sided player in this Inter Milan 3-5-2 will be this guy right here, Ricardo Pereira of Leicester City. Now, he's 25 years old and 84 rated, and whilst the Portuguese lad is a right-back, he can play on the right side of midfield as well, and really all up and down the right flank of the pitch. Now, he's going to cost you quite a lot of money to get him. There's no doubt about that. He's one of the best right-backs in the game at 84 rated, and at 25 years old right now, he's also in his prime too. We agreed a deal of £45 million. When you take a look at this guy's stats, they are absolutely superb, and what I would describe as perfect for Antonio Conte's 3-5-2. His best stat is his stamina with 88. He's also got sprint speed 86, 85 acceleration, 85 reactions, 84 stand tackle, and 83 short pass as well. When this guy's on the ball, he's very technically sound, but also physically, he's very, very quick when going forward, and he's got all the stamina in the world as well. Defensively, he's also really solid too. All round, this guy is the perfect modern day wing-back / wide midfielder in a 3 at the back system, and that's why in Antonio Conte's system 3-5-2, that was what would make Pereira perfect, because when going forward, he's got something to offer with the pace he's got, the crossing, the short pass stat as well, but also defensively he's really solid. The high work rates, the high stamina, the high pace too. That there is basically no negative to Ricardo Pereira, and again, in this 3-5-2, he fits the system absolutely perfectly, and that's why I'd recommend him as my number one outright transfer target for this Inter Milan side. He is such a gifted and skilled player with the high work rates and the high stamina too. Bombs up and down the pitch all game long, which he'll need to do as one of only 2 wide midfielders / fullbacks / wingbacks in the system. He's going to need to be working very hard all game long and have the stamina to cope with the bombing up and down the pitch all game long. Without question, Ricardo Pereira, my number one transfer target, and he grows to 86 overall as well. So he grows 2 ratings despite being 25 years old. Still, following the signing even of Pereira, we were making some more sales here, including Valero, of course, going. We also sold Padelli, our backup goalkeeper there, after we recalled Radu. We didn't need Padelli anymore, and also sold Asamoah as well. And we had a massive bid here, along with bids for Candreva and D'Ambrosio, for Nainggolan from Napoli, the 31-year-old Belgian central midfielder that is 84 rated. And again, this is why you recall these sort of players that are out on loan right now, because we agreed a deal with Napoli of £40 million for the Belgian 31-year-old. Now, at 84 rated, you could either have this guy in your first 11 in the first season, and he'd be more than good enough for that, or perhaps even coming off the bench. Or if you want to sell him, £40 million added to your transfer budget is massive. This guy's 31 years old. You don't need him out on loan right now getting competitive match experience. He's good enough to get at your team right now. So recall him from loan, it'll cost you around £1 to £1.5 million. And then to sell him and make a profit for £40 million is absolutely amazing. So that's why I always recommend this. When you're managing a big team and you've got players that are out on loan right now that have got resale value, recall them. Because for a very small fee of around £1 to £1.5 million, you can make a massive profit on them, like we did in the case of Nainggolan, of £40 million, which was the fee we agreed with the sale, or you can use them in the first 11 or on the bench. It's totally up to you. But yeah, we sold Nainggolan there, and after a couple of other sales as well, we bumped our budget up to around £77 million. So lots of money in the budget now, more than we started off with when we began the career mode. And my second target for an Inter Milan career mode, well, you've just got someone from Leicester City. Why not get one of his mates as well? Wilfred Ndidi would be my second target for a Leicester City career mode. And why would I recommend Wilfred Ndidi? Well, when you're playing this 3-5-2, you want all your midfielders to work hard. There's no doubt about that. And Ndidi, like Pereira, has high work rate and high stamina as well. That is what is the key for Antonio Conte in his system. Hard-working players, High work rate, so crucial, and very high stamina as well. We're looking for players that fit his system perfectly, and Wilfred Ndidi and Ricardo Pereira definitely do. We agreed to deal with Brendan Rodgers of £42.7 million, so just a little bit less than we agreed with Ricardo Pereira, but the Nigerian is just 22 years old, yet already 84 rated. He's one of the best box-to-box midfielders in the Premier League, and I've sung this guy's praises many times in real life. He's a key member of Leicester's squad. Absolutely superb player and a real athlete as well. Very physical player, and definitely worth signing. So the deal we agreed with £42.7 million, the 84 rated 22-year-old, and this guy grows 4 ratings in the game as well. He goes from 84 to 88. That's his potential, and with dynamic potential, you could possibly get him to 90 overall. I definitely recommend Wilfred Ndidi for this Inter Milan career mode. He'd be a great box-to-box midfielder in your 5 in midfield, and again, you saw his key stats there. What's his best stat? Like with Ricardo Pereira, it's stamina. He's got 92 stamina to begin with, and defensively too. Some absolutely superb stats. He's got medium-high work rate, so again, you can either operate this guy as a ball-winning midfielder, or again, a box-to-box, which is personally where I'd play Wilfred Ndidi, but he's got some brilliant stats, and again, he's going to slide right into your first 11 and be a really awesome player as part of your midfield 5. So yeah, we signed Pereira, and we now signed Wilfred Ndidi as well. And after the signing of Ndidi of around 42.7 million, we still had some more money to work with. And the third player I tried to get for the Inter Milan career mode was Juan Bernat of Paris Saint-Germain. And I've talked about this guy before. And the reason why I went after Juan Bernat from PSG is because you can get him for around £17.5 million, which is his valuation, to around 22.5 mil, which is 5 mil over the current market valuation. PSG and unfortunately this career mode were holding to ransom a little bit, but we did manage to agree to deal £22.5 million. So £5 million over his market valuation. But Bernat, whilst he is 20, is he 25 or 26 years old? 26 years old. He still grows 3 ratings in the game as well. So don't be put off by signing players if they're over 25, because a lot of them still have a little bit of room to grow. Bernat starts off 81 overall, but gets to 84. And with dynamic potential, could push 85, 86 overall. And like with Ricardo Pereira, whilst he's listed as a fullback and a left back in this game, he can play on the left-hand side of midfield. And when you take a look at the stats he's got as well, high acceleration, high sprint speed, high ball control, high crossing as well. And going forward, this guy's going to offer you something and be an attacking threat. But also defensively, he's also pretty solid as well, with stats such as 81 stand tackle, I think it was, or perhaps slide tackle. But either way, defensively, just like Pereira, defensively he's very solid when on the offensive. He's also very good as well. And you can either have him starting ahead of Perisic, who is 4 years older right now, or you can have him coming off the bench. The choice is totally up to you. Personally, I'd recommend starting Bernat and looking to maximise his growth. But if you want to have Perisic starting on left-hand side and you've recalled him from Bayern, that's also fine as well. Both of which can do the role perfectly well, but my recommendation would be to go with a younger player, Juan Bernat, who is of course 4 years younger and has higher potential as well. But after the signing of Bernat, we now signed 3 players to this team and decided to try and make some sales, and one of which we agreed was with Wolfsburg for Gagliardini. Now, the central midfielder is pretty decent in the game, actually, and as a reserve midfielder, not bad at all. We agreed a deal of £14 million, and of course, in this Inter Milan side, he's not going to get much game time in the first season when he's behind several better central midfielders that are also younger as well, including the new man, Wilfred Ndidi. And if you do sell Gagliardini, you can buy someone for around the same transfer fee that is one of the best young players in the game. That's right, whenever you do an Italian career mode, I always recommend trying to sign this guy for your team if you've got the cash. It is, of course, the kid, Sandro Tonali of Brescia, 77 rated defensive midfielder who is only 19 years old and has 91 potential. In this career mode here, we agreed to deal Brescia of £16.4 million plus a 20% sell-on clause. So a very big sell-on clause for the young, talented midfielder. Not a real surprise based on how good this guy grows and gets to in the future. 91 is his potential. He becomes one of the best players in world football when it's all said and done. But in this Italian career mode, you're unlikely to want to part ways with Tonali at all throughout the entire save. He'll probably be in your Inter Milan side between start to finish. So Sandro Tonali, definitely worth picking up. If you're ever doing Italian career mode, you've got to try and get Sandro Tonali, because again, he's got the potential to be special, with 91 as his potential, and his stats are really nice as well. Just 19 years old, already 77 rated, with medium-high work rates, a 4-star week. For physically, he's very well balanced, well rounded all round. Technically as well, the exact same. Good when defending, passing, and offers you something when going forward as well. And you might notice too, he's got the leadership trait at just 19 years old. Future Inter Milan captain for sure when you pick him up. Really, really great player. And again, you can get him for around just about £2 or £3 million over what you sold Gagliardini for. So definitely worth doing, in my opinion. But following the signing of Tonali and after the sale of Gagliardini and some season ticket sales as well, we had just a little bit more money left over to bring in a new backup centre-back. I must admit, I kind of got this the wrong way around. I was supposed to do the backup centre-back first and then sign Tonali if I had the cash. So it's kind of limited my options a little bit because I messed this up a little bit here. But I tried to get Joe Gomez, who would be the best centre-back you could buy for an Inter Milan career mode, because he starts off at 81 overall, but he grows to 89 in the game and becomes one of the best centre-backs in world football when it's all said and done. But there are several other players you can get. You've got Konate of RB Leipzig, Upamecano also of RB Leipzig, Luis Felipe of Lazio, for example. So there are several other targets you could get, if not Joe Gomez, even though he would be the best one. And in the end, the player that we managed to sign was this guy right here, Ibrahima Konate of RB Leipzig. 20 years old, but already 79 rated and has 88 potential as well. And he's worth whatever fee you got to give up. We gave up £23.5 million to get him, which is around 6.5 mil over his current market valuation, but at just 20 years old and already 79 rated, he's more than good enough to go right into your first 11. However, my recommendation is to have him on the bench in the first season and playing as a backup centre-back behind Stefan de Vrij, Diego Godin, and also Milan Skriniar as well. Those three centre-halves are in their mid to high 80s right now for overall, so I'd have Konate coming off the bench at 20 years old, learning from those more experienced centre-halves, particularly in Diego Godin's case, who of course is just signed for Inter Milan, the veteran Uruguayan centre-half, but coming off the bench and playing in cup games and midweek games, he's more than good enough to be a starter in this team. He's certainly more physical than de Vrij and Godin as well. Got a lot more pace than Godin, at least say the very least, but I would still recommend starting with the original back three and having Konate learning and coming off the bench. So in the end, as you can see, we sold 8 players for £92.25 million from this Inter Milan side, and as you can see, all the players were in their 30s apart from Gagliardini. I think there was the only player outside of 30 years old. And as for the new signings, we signed 5 players in total for £150 million. It was a net loss of £57.85 million, but when we took a look at the signings we brought in, we went after players that are good enough to play a role in the first team, either in the first 11 or the bench in the first season. Not just young talents, but also younger players that can replace the senior players. Pereira and Ndidi going right to the first 11, Bernat and Konate going onto the bench, and Tonali is the lone youth prospect for the future as well. So Inter Milan in the first season, that's what I recommend. Don't just bring in a load of young talents, but also try and get some balance in your side. Players for the reserves, like in Tonali's case, young talents with high potential. Players for the bench, like Konate and Bernat, and players for the first 11, like Ndidi and Pereira. Spread out your signing criteria. Players for the first team, players for the bench, and players for the resis as well. So as per usual, we simulate to the end of the season and see how our new look side will get on. And as you can see, come the end of the first season, it was a very successful one for Inter Milan domestically. We finished in second place in the Serie A, so the closest threat to Juventus. Sadly, could not dethrone Juventus in the first season, but that wasn't even part of our objectives. We just need to finish in the top 4, which we did. Closest team to Juve, 10 points behind in the end, yes, but only lost 1 time in the whole season. And to finish with 97 points and not win the title in the end, well, that just goes to show you how good the big teams are in career mode this year. So that's a very good season, no doubt about it. And in the Coppa Nazionale, well, this was very good indeed. We won the Coppa Italia. So there was silverware in the cabinet come the end of the first season. We were supposed to reach the semi-finals this stage. We went all the way to the final and thrashed Sassuolo by 5-1 in Rome to win it. So we beat Milan in the quarters, which I found quite interesting, and knocked out Juventus in the semis as well on our way to win the Coppa Italia. So a great season domestically for Inter Milan. Unfortunately, the one letdown was, as it often happens in these Who to Sign For episodes, you have 2 really good objectives that get hit and then one that gets failed. The one failure was, unfortunately, in Europe. We were supposed to reach the final of the Champions League, and in the end, we were knocked out in the last 16. So managed to get through the group stage, which is good, but knocked out by Real Madrid in the last 16. No shame to losing to Real Madrid. They picked up the Champions League more team than any other in the last decade, but either way, still, getting knocked out in the round of 16 was still regarded as a failure, regardless of who it came against. So it was a failure in Europe, but a very successful season domestically, no doubt about that. Whilst we might have came way short in our European objective to win the Coppa Italia and go 2 steps further than where the board asked us to. They only said reach semi-final. We didn't get to the final. We won the Coppa Italia and also finished second place with 97 points in the Serie A in our first season as well. I have to say that was a really successful first season domestically for Inter Milan. And we take a look at the new boys coming as well. Bernat had a really good season. He scored 11 goals in 41 games for him. Bernat, really good season for him. And Konate grew 2 ratings in his first season too, with 11 clean sheets in 28 games. Ricardo Pereira was a little bit disappointing, I will be honest here. I don't think he scored in his first season with us. He did grow a rating, which is nice to see. But, he did 1 goal in 19 games. But not the best in the Serie A. For some reason, didn't play that much. Tonali only played 1 time, but he still managed to grow 3 ratings. And as a young prospect at 19 years old, growing 3 ratings, increasing his market valuation, and already hitting 80 overall, just 20 years old, is very impressive indeed. Wilfred Ndidi did not play much in the first season. I don't know why that was. He did grow 2 ratings, which was nice to see, but I can only imagine he must have had a serious injury at some point, because he only played 10 Serie A games and 14 overall. I don't really know why, for a player that was 86 overall at the end of the first season. Not too sure what happened there. But either way, Eriksson, by the way, I'd show you this. Eriksson wasn't my signing. What a season. He had 23 goals in his first season in the Serie A. Absolutely superb. But yeah, as for my signings, whilst I was slightly disappointed about Wilfred Ndidi not playing that many times, it was still a really successful season for the 5 new boys coming in. They all grew ratings. In Tonali's case, he grew 3, but the others grew 2 ratings each. Or did Bernat grow? I think Bernat actually might have grown 1. But anyway, they all grew ratings regardless and had a really solid first season. And for Inter Milan's sake overall, to finish in second place and only lose 1 time in the Serie A, yet still finish 10 points behind Juventus and 97 points not being enough for them to be dethroned, it just goes to show you how good the big teams are in this year's career. But regardless of the failure in Europe, I will still say it was a really successful first season at the San Siro for this Inter Milan side. And right from the get-go, you've got a good enough team to get Juventus off the throne, and certainly in the second season, that will be your objective. With more money added to your budget and some more quality players coming in, you should be able to win the Serie A title in Season 2 after laying down the groundwork in Season 1. But that was today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys. So big thank you for watching. Really hope you have enjoyed it. If you did enjoy today's episode, then please do drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode of Who to Sign For very soon.